Hello and welcome into the Week 6 edition of the ETSN.fm podcast. I'm Clint Buckley, and as always, I'm joined by Chandler Vessels. Well, it's a light week across East Texas this week as we have a lot of the 6-team districts on bye this week, but that doesn't mean there's not a couple of really entertaining matchups going on Friday. Let's get right down to it, and we'll start with a colossal District 8 3A Division I clash between a pair of unbeatens, West Rusk and Gladewater.
Yeah, West Rusk is number 4 in the 3A AP poll, and then Gladewater's a recent addition in the past 2 weeks, I believe. They're number 7 in the 3A AP poll, so it's a top 10 clash. As always, we're going to talk about that West Rusk defense that's just so dominating, but I think the matchup in this one that's going to be really fun to watch is seeing how Eli Carter performs against that West Rusk defense. In Gladewater's breakout season, Carter, who's a sophomore, has had sort of a breakout season of his own. He leads the area in rushing with 1,162 yards rushing.
Had his streak of 200-yard game snap last week, but it didn't matter. They still had no problems with Winsboro.
Yeah, he's still averaging well over 200 yards rushing per game. Obviously, with those kind of numbers, he is going to average that. He's got like 10 touchdowns, but I doubt he's seen Pleasant Grove's a pretty good defense. Gladewater played Pleasant Grove earlier this year.
Put 44 points on him.
But yeah, I think West Rusk is going to be his biggest test to date as far as defenses go. The Raiders will be missing a couple of players this week on defense. I learned Colton Mills, who's tied for their lead in sacks with 5, is going to be out, so that'll be a big absence for them. And then Alvaro Cortez, who's also one of their leading tacklers, is going to be out too. But they'll still have Diego Molina and Orlando Cortez, the 2 leaders of those guys, 2 seniors who were really great last year and have kept up their production this year. Cortez is the one who's tied with Mills for the lead in sacks, and then he also has 15 tackles for loss this season, which is high up on the list overall for East Texas.
And West Rusk is not. I mean, they're used to playing without guys because remember last year Jalen Garland missed some big games, and they were able to win some of those that he missed on offense. So, and that defense is loaded all the way up and down. So it is going to be a noticeable absence, those 2 guys not being in there. But I don't think it's enough to completely change the way West Rusk plays on defense.
Yeah, I still think West Rusk will be just fine, and it'll still be a big test for the Gladewater offense and
for sure
Eli Carter. So I'm going to be at that game. I'm really excited to get out there and looking forward to it, and seeing who can come out. I think the winner of this one is going to have a really good chance to win that district. West Rusk has already beat Mineola. They beat them last week, so I'd say Gladewater's the biggest challenge they have going forward in this district. And if they win this game, they're going to be in a great position to win their district, and if Gladewater wins, likewise for them too. Yeah,
and one thing to keep in mind, this might not be the only time these 2 teams play this year. They're both regional contenders, and they're not in Newton's region. They're in Region 2, so this could be a regional championship preview as well, or regional semifinals, depending on how the bracket lines up. So West Rusk Gladewater Part 1 is Friday. Looking forward to that. I'm sure you'll have a great time in Gladewater.
Yeah.
Another big game. It's another top 10 battle between Pleasant Grove and Carthage, last year's 2 4A state champions. Carthage comes in winners of 30 in a row, which is the longest streak in Texas currently. Pleasant Grove has the 1 loss to Gladewater, which we mentioned earlier. But all in all, they've played pretty well despite losing, just a ton of players from last year's team. They're coming 4-1. They're ranked number 4 in the state. The interesting key in this one is going to be Carthage's run defense. They've been kind of hit or miss. I mean, it hasn't affected their win-loss total. I mean, they're 4-0, but in games, in their most competitive games, their opponents have run for quite a few yards. Liberty Ilo didn't run a ton, but when they did, they had success. I think they had 160 yards and only 13 carries in that game, which was decided by just 2 touchdowns. And a game that Liberty Ilo and Carthage, I mean, it was a tight game at halftime, and Carthage kind of had to pull away from them in the second half. And then Carthage's game against Marshall the following week, Marshall came in kind of struggling on the ground in their first 2 games, and they changed that against Carthage. They ran for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that was a 3-point game. So, but on the other hand, in Carthage's blowout wins against Jacksonville and Gilmer, no running for either one of those 2 teams. I mean, Jacksonville, I think, had 28 yards on 25 carries, and I was looking up Gilmer. I think they had like 60 yards rushing. But Gilmer was without Brand Webb, and they fell behind early. So, they didn't have they didn't have a chance to really to establish their running game. But
Yeah.
I think Carthage's defense against the run is going to be key in this one. Pleasant Grove, they throw it more than most teams out of the wing tee, but they're still very run heavy. I mean, they're averaging over 300 yards rushing per game. They've got two guys that are right on pace for 1,000-yard seasons, and Bruce Garrett and James Wiggins. I think if Pleasant Grove has success running the football and they can allow themselves to make some plays with the play action game with Ben Harmon and Jackson Cobb, I think it could be a competitive game in the second half. But if Carthage comes out, plays strong run defense, I think we're going to see more of the same as far as Carthage, just getting the job done. I don't know necessarily that it's going to be the 66-14 route that we saw a couple weeks ago against Gilmer. I think Pleasant Grove, they don't lend themselves just their style of play to getting trounced like that. They don't take as many chances, I think, as Gilmer does on offense, and they don't go as fast. So Gilmer was into a lot of quick 3-and-outs, which kind of hurt their field position, hurt their defense.
Yeah, they also had 3 interceptions in that game.
Right. Pleasant Grove is not going to beat themselves as much as Gilmer may have. So I don't think we're looking at a 50-point blowout by any stretch, but I do think Carthage has the advantage as far as just the players on the field. PG is going to have to win. They're going to have to out-scheme them. They're going to have to, and they're going to have to win up front with their offensive line and establish the run game. So I think Carthage is the favorite, but it wouldn't surprise me if this game wasn't decided until late. Pleasant Grove is one of those teams that you just don't blow out. They're going to hang around, and the longer you hang around against a team like Carthage, the longer the better chance you have of pulling off an upset. So we'll definitely find out. Another big non-district game in 4A, Jasper against West Orange Stark. This is very intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, Jasper's off to a 5-0 start, but you kind of want to be cautious with that. Their opponents have a combined 4-21 record so far this season. So this will definitely be a good barometer for them if they're able to be competitive or even come out. If they're able to come out with the win, we'll know for sure they're for real. But if they're even able to be competitive, maybe we're able to look at Jasper as a team that's able to go a little bit further than we might have thought originally in the playoffs.
Right, and
this year.
And the thing about it too is, this is really the only. I hate to just pile on the teams that they're playing, but this is the only good team they're going to play in the regular season. But I don't think anybody. Center's a nice team, but I don't think they're going to challenge Jasper in that district, and I don't think anybody else really comes close to Jasper in the district. This is really the only test they're going to have until the playoffs. So this is going to say an awful lot. You're right about Jasper's prospects beyond the regular season. So looking forward to how they handle a proven program like a West Orange Stark. Yeah,
it's going to be a huge test. West Orange Stark's defense is obviously the best defense they're going to face all year long. We've already said it, but they've given up, I think, 75 points this season, and
21 of that was against Newton, right?
Yeah, and 35 was in another game. So if you take away those 2 games, I think they've already pitched 2 shutouts.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, those numbers are definitely a little bit skewed. Jasper's going to want to try to get their running game going. They've got a good running back in Montavian Hunt, who's nearing 1,000 yards already. He's got a little over 800 as well as 11 touchdowns, but and he's rushed for 200 yards twice this season and hasn't had a game in which he didn't rush for at least 100. I'm not sure if that'll continue against West Orange Stark. If he can get to that 100 mark, it's a good
sign.
Sign for Jasper and their offense. Colton Womack can throw the ball a little bit. Jasper's another one of those teams that doesn't like to throw too much, but he's got close to 500 yards this year. So their offense has definitely shown balance so far through the first 5 games, and I'm intrigued to see how this one turns out.
Another game I'm interested in is a district battle between Crockett and Diboll. Diboll's dropping down, and they've looked really good so far. And Crockett just has the 1 loss, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this one plays out as well.
Yeah, Diboll's another team that has a really good defense. They've only given up 13 points so far this season, pitched 2 shutouts. I wasn't able to track down any of their defensive stats. I did get their offensive stats. They have a running back, Dearris McMillan, who's over 600 yards, so it'll be good to see how he performs against a Crockett defense that has a guy in Alan Horace, the defensive lineman, who's got a few Division I offers.
He looked really good at our combine too.
Yeah, he's going to be one to watch. I think he's just a junior.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have definitely more offers come his way, I expect, if he keeps playing at the level that we've seen him perform at so far. But yeah, Crockett started off the season with a loss, but they're 4-0 since then. So I think this has potential to be one of the better games in the area this week.
Yep, and it could be. You know, we see all these district games, and already there are district championship implications. It's crazy. I mean, last week Longview and Rockwall, that was the district opener for both teams, and we're pretty sure that's going to ultimately decide the district championship, unless Longview slips up. So, the West Rusk Gladewater, they're just into their second district week, and Crockett Diboll, I mean, same thing. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's crazy how early these games are coming and how important they are, and it's just the first week of October. So that tells you that while there aren't that many games in East Texas, there's definitely some important ones to keep an eye on this week. Well, before we get out of here, we want to give a special shout-out to our offensive and defensive players of the week. First up on offense, it's Palestine junior running back Jeremiah Davis. What a game he had last Friday. 34 carries, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Palestine's 30-14 win over previously unbeaten Crandall. So that was a nice way for Palestine to end their non-district after kind of struggling through the first 4 weeks, for them to come out with a win and feel good about themselves heading into that that murderer's row of a district with Carthage and Van and so forth. So congratulations, Jeremiah Davis from Palestine, our offensive player of the week.
Yeah, and on defense we have Cameron Edney from Pittsburgh, the linebacker. He had 24 tackles.
Is that all? 24 tackles?
No. There's more. He forced a couple fumbles and also had a sack.
Wow.
In their 25-19 victory against Kilgore. So he moved up a little bit on the forced fumble leaders in East Texas with those 2 forced fumbles. I think he has 3 now on the season.
Yeah.
So definitely a great performance for him. And Pittsburgh's a team that's been performing pretty well so far this season. So congrats to Cameron on taking that this week.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, they're an interesting story. I mean, they have 2 losses, but you look at them. Jefferson, who's 5-0 and just beating the mess out of everybody that they play. And then Van, by 1 point, they missed a PAT at the very end of the game. So Pittsburgh team, especially with Gilmer, struggling the way they are, chance to kind of make some noise in that district. In a couple of weeks. So congratulations to Jeremiah Davis, Cameron Edney, our offensive and defensive players of the week. That's going to do it for the show. For everything you need to get ready for this week's action, just be sure to check out ETSN.fm. We've got previews, feature stories, everything you need to get ready for this week. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave the comments below in the comments section, or you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Clint Buckley. He's at Chandler Vessels, or you can contact us on the main ETSN Twitter account at ETSN.fm. As always, the free ETSN mobile app is available. It's on Google Play and the App Store. It is the best way to access the best live scoreboard in all of East Texas. So be sure to do that. For Chandler Vessels, I'm Clint Buckley. Everybody enjoy your weekend, and we will come to you all again next week.